People have called it the crime of the century, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. This was a heist so bold, so brilliantly planned, that it became the stuff of legend. But here's the thing about brilliant plans. Sometimes a single tiny mistake is all it takes for the whole thing to come crashing down. This is the story of a crime that was almost perfect.
So picture this. It's 3 in the morning. A mail train is chugging along its usual route from Glasgow to London. Then suddenly it grinds to a halt. The driver, a guy named Jack Mills, is confused. He's looking at this signal out here in the absolute middle of nowhere, and it's red. It should be green. He stops the train, and for a second, there's just silence. But that silence is about to be shattered.
Because this wasn't just any old mail train. See, on board, tucked away in one of the coaches, was a fortune. Not gold, not diamonds, just cold, hard cash. So much cash that today it would be worth a staggering £67 million. So the real question isn't just why the train stopped, it's who knew what it was carrying.
Right, so let's be clear. This wasn't some random spur-of-the-moment thing. This heist was a masterpiece of planning, and it was all built on a secret that could only have come from one place, the inside.
The man pulling the strings was a career criminal named Bruce Reynolds, a real mastermind. But even he couldn't have dreamed this up on his own. No, he had an ace up his sleeve, a mysterious source, someone high up inside the Royal Mail itself. To this day, nobody knows who it was.
This insider gave Reynolds 2 golden nuggets of information that made the whole thing possible. First, the specific coach carrying all the cash, the high-value packages coach, was an older model. And you know what it didn't have? A security alarm, a massive vulnerability. Second, because of a recent bank holiday, the train wasn't carrying its usual load. Oh no, it was carrying nearly 10 times that amount. I mean, it was the perfect storm.
So with that incredible intel, the plan was set. A gang of 16 men lay in wait in the dark. Now, it was time for the show.
And these guys moved like clockwork. At 3:03 a.m., the train stops at their fake signal. Within minutes, they've swarmed the engine. The driver, Jack Mills, tries to fight back and is brutally beaten with an iron bar. They then uncouple the 2 coaches they want and force the injured Mills to drive the train a little further down the track to a spot called Bridecco Bridge, where their getaway truck is waiting.
The sheer scale of what they did next is just mind-boggling. They formed a human chain, passing sack after sack of cash from the train down the embankment to the truck, 120 sacks in total. It weighed 2.5 tons, and they loaded all of it in just 15 minutes. It was pure, raw efficiency.
But, you know, even the best plans hit a snag. And here was their first one. They'd actually brought their own retired train driver to move the engine for them. The problem? He was completely baffled by the modern controls, had no idea how to work it. So they were forced to improvise, relying on the very man they had just viciously attacked, Jack Mills, to finish the job for them. The job was done. They had the money, and they just melted into the night. It really looked like they'd gotten away with it. But then, one of them was about to make a huge, huge mistake.
They drove to their hideout, a rented spot called Leatherslade Farmhouse. Once there, they listened to the police radio, started divvying up the millions, and celebrated. They must have felt totally invincible, home free, or so they thought. As they were leaving the train, one of the robbers turned to the captured train staff. He gave them a little warning, just to buy some extra time. He said, "Don't move for 30 minutes. Just 6 little words. 6 words that would bring the entire operation crashing down."
That was their undoing. See, police investigators are smart. They heard that 30-minute warning and did some quick math. How far could a truck get in half an hour on those country roads? That gave them a search radius of about 50 kilometers. The gang had basically just handed the police a treasure map with a big X on it.
So, back at the farmhouse, that triumphant celebration was about to turn into pure dread. They were about to realize exactly what they'd done.
They're huddled around their police scanner when they hear the news. The cops have set up a 50-kilometer dragnet right around their position. Absolute panic sets in. The original plan to lay low for a few days, that went right out the window. They decided to get out of there immediately, leaving in a total rush.
To cover their tracks, they paid some other guy to burn the farmhouse to the ground after they left. But, in what has to be the most incredible stroke of bad luck, the guy they paid just took the money and ran. He never lit a single match.
leaving the hideout and all the evidence inside completely untouched.
When the police finally raided the farm, they hit the jackpot. I mean, they found mailbags, supplies, even one of their trucks. But the absolute key piece of evidence was almost comical. In their celebration, the gang had played a game of Monopoly, using the real stolen cash as play money. And what did they leave behind? Their fingerprints all over the game board, linking them directly to the crime.
Well, with evidence like that, the net closed in, and it closed in tight. But the story doesn't just end with their capture. The aftermath brought a heavy dose of both justice and tragedy.
You know, the gang always prided themselves on the fact that this was a non-violent robbery. They made a point of not using any firearms. But the reality was anything but non-violent. Jack Mills, the driver they beat with an iron bar, suffered such severe physical and psychological trauma that he was never able to work again. He passed away just 7 years later.
The fallout was huge. In the end, most of the gang were caught and handed 30-year prison sentences. As for the money, believe it or not, most of the £2.5 million was never recovered. And the inside man, the one who made it all possible, he just vanished. His identity is a secret that has been kept to this day.
And that really brings us to the end. The robbers were caught, and justice was served, in a way. But even after all this time, a huge cloud of mystery still hangs over this whole affair.
Who was the high-level source inside the Royal Mail who handed them this perfect plan on a silver platter? Without him, there would have been no Great Train Robbery. He was the ghost in the machine, and his name remains the single greatest unsolved piece of the puzzle.